Questions and answers. Question. Do the books of gold spoken of in your biographical sketch have the same texts? Answer. They treat of the same civilization, but each book has a different text. These books were not written at the time of this civilization. The conditions were such that it was thought that many of the records of this former civilization were being neglected, and that the records would be lost in the years to come. The books were written to point to definite locations where the records would be found. The books are more or less glossaries, written so that they would stimulate research to the point where the records would be brought out. Question. Were all the books found in India? Answer. All 5 of the books are in India. The 4 we found were there, and the 5th is there. We have found ruins of cities in Alaska also, but little else. Near the spot where the Mackenzie River empties into the ocean, we have sunk shafts and found ruins of cities. The carvings on the building blocks show that the people of this civilization knew the art of carving, as did the people whose civilization we are unearthing in the Gobi. We have not been able to carry on the research work in Alaska to the point where we have their records, but we have found records in the Gobi which refer to points where the records were placed. It took us 12 years in the Gobi after we had sunk the first shaft before we opened the first vault. After that, it took us a little more than 4 years to open 3 more. They are in a fine state of preservation. Question. Will you comment on the appearance and disappearance of the masters and their assistants to you in your work? Answer. We saw that happen many times. While we do not know the modus operandi of that appearance and disappearance, we do not look on it as mysterious, although we did at first. It was one of the outstanding experiences of our 3½ years with those people. It is difficult to elaborate on it as we do not understand it ourselves. Many times, when we were away from our source of supply, we sat down and prepared to eat, and food appeared before us. But we came to a point where we knew that we should not depend on these people. They have told us many times of the locations of the ruins and records of the older civilizations. Had we depended wholly on their information, we would have learned nothing of the method of which the ruins and records could be found. So we chose to go on with our surveys. We have proved that we can reach the same determinations by surveys. Today we are depending more on what these people teach us, and we are going on with the work much more rapidly. But with all of that, we do not depend on them for our supplies. We take our supplies in with us, and we keep them ahead as much as possible. We have no fear of running out, since we have been supplied so often. All of our water is carried 350 miles by camels. It is the remoteness of the place that has kept it free from vandalism. It is difficult to explain these people other than to tell of the remarkable things they accomplish. When the necessity for the accomplishment arises, they step forth and accomplish. We have come to rivers and seen them step forth and walk across on the water. They do not look on that as miraculous. It is accomplished by a definite principle. It is done instantly and without a word being spoken. We have pictures of 6 men walking on the water and of a 7th man stepping forth onto it. Question. Were you with Emil and Jast when they went through the burning forest? Answer. I was. That is the only outstanding experience of which we have no photographs. There were only the 3 of us. Had I had a camera with me, I would have forgotten it. When I stepped forth between these 2 men, a great archway opened through the fire. To me, it was the last straw. That was in 1895. Question. Will you tell us of the healing temple? Answer. It is an open temple with 8 arches terminating in a great dome. We have never seen anyone officiating in that temple, nor have we ever heard a word said about healing, but everyone who even walks through the temple evidently is benefited. We cannot say that everyone is healed, but we know of many healings accomplished there. In 5 instances, we have kept the people with us. One man was carried into the temple on a stretcher in the last stages of ossification. He could not move. In 45 minutes he arose from the stretcher and walked out of the temple completely out of the condition of ossification. Afterwards he worked with our party. There was the case of the 4-year-old Mohammedan child. I held the child in my 2 hands, and there seemed to be no weight to his body. In less than 20 minutes the child got out of his mother's arms and ran out of the temple. The mother could hardly believe he was her child. The form and flesh filled out right before our eyes. We have photographs taken both before and after the healing. Question: will you tell us about trying to sing "Hail, Hail, the gang's all here" when you were in the temple? Answer: we were told that inharmonious sound could not be uttered in the temple. We tried to sing "Hail, Hail, the gang's all here," and no sound came forth. We then just said "Hail, Hail, Hail," and the words rang out as though amplified 1,000 times. Question: how much would it cost to go to the temple? Answer: your expense would have to include going to Calcutta. From there, you would make the 800-mile trip to the temple. That would require that you walk at least 250 miles. The people who go on those pilgrimages take their time. They live in the country. It takes them a year and 4 or 5 months, generally. In the next few years, it may be more accessible by airplanes.